If March sneaks up on you and spring feels rushed for the rest of the season, this is the month where gardeners either get ahead in a big way or suddenly realize, I'm behind. And the tricky part is this: not everything should be started right now. If you start the wrong crops, you waste time and space and energy. And if you start the right ones, everything just flows. And I'm going to tell you what not to start in March, because that's where most gardeners mess this up. But we're not doing a giant, overwhelming list. We're breaking this down by climate, because what I can start here in Southern California is not what someone in Minnesota should be starting right now. Let's get you ahead. Step one, know your bucket. Before we talk about plants, you need to know which growing situation you're in. And I keep this very simple. There are 3 buckets. Cold climates, meaning your frost is still here and still coming. Mild climates, your last frost is close. And warm climates, either you don't have frost all winter or you had a little bit and it's gone already. Everything you do in March depends on which one of these applies to you. And if you don't know your last frost date, that's the number that controls everything. When you start seeds, when you transplant, or whether something thrives or struggles. Instead of guessing, this is exactly why we built GardenGuide.com, soon to be an app. You plug in your zip code, it tells you what you can start this month, when to transplant, when to direct sow, how it lines up with your climate, and so much more. There's no confusing zone charts, no generic advice. It adjusts to where you actually live. I'll leave a link below. So before we go any further, figure out your bucket, whether you look it up manually or use GardenGuide.com, because the rest of this only works if you apply the right timing to your location. Now let's break it down. For you guys in cold climates, meaning your frost is still here and maybe for a little while longer, if you're in a cold climate, think zones 4 through 6, March is early spring. You still have frost in your future, nights are cold, soil may be just now workable a little bit. This month is about cool season crops and smart indoor starts. As soon as your soil can be worked, meaning it's not frozen and it's not swampy mud, you can plant peas, spinach, radishes, carrots, lettuce, arugula, and mustard greens. These crops actually prefer cool soil. In fact, waiting for warmer weather can hurt your results. Peas especially should go in early. They hate heat. If you delay peas until April or May in a cold climate even, they'll struggle when temperatures start to spike. Spinach and lettuce germinate beautifully in cool soil and produce better flavor before the stress of the summer heat. Carrots also benefit from early sowing because they grow sweeter in cooler conditions. Now, if your ground is still partially frozen, wait until it's workable, but don't wait for warm. These crops don't need it. Indoors is where most of your momentum happens this month. You can start broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, Brussels sprouts, onions if you didn't already. These are cool season transplants. They handle chilly spring weather once moved outside. Now you can also start tomatoes in late March if your last frost date is in May. Tomatoes need about 6 to 8 weeks indoors before transplanting, so count backward from your frost date. Now let me say something clearly. Do not start peppers too early in cold climates unless you have strong grow lights and room to pot them up. Peppers grow slowly, yes, but if you start them in early March and your transplant date is late May, they're going to sit indoors too long, become root bound, and kind of just stall. So mid-March, late March is usually early enough. So in the cold climates, this month is about controlled progress, not panic planting. If you're in zone 7 or 8, March is a transition month. Your cool season crops are still going, but warm season crops are on deck. Timing here is everything because you can easily start too early or wait too long. You can plant lettuce, spinach, arugula, carrots, beets, potatoes, cilantro. This is a great month for potatoes. Soil is warming, but not hot, so they'll establish strong roots before the summer heat hits. You can also succession sow greens every 2 weeks to stretch out your harvest window. Just remember that as temperatures rise toward the end of the month, some cool crops may begin to bolt faster, so spacing and timing matter. Indoors, we're going to pivot to summer crops. So you want to be able to start indoors right now: tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, basil, all the heat lovers. This will give you strong transplants ready to go out shortly after your last frost. Again, tomatoes need 6 to 8 weeks before transplanting. Peppers need at least 8 weeks, and basil can be started 4 to 6 weeks before moving outside. Now here's the trap in mild climates: excitement. March sometimes starts to feel warm, so gardeners start everything, and then a late frost hits and wipes things out. Let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you. If frost is still possible, start indoors. Don't gamble. And don't start more than you can plant. Every March, I see from gardeners who have planted, 40 tomato seedlings, and they have room for 6. Plan first and start second. If you're in zones 9 or 10 or 11, March is planting season. Your soil is warming up quickly and summer crops are ready to move. Right now, you can sow directly out in the garden beans, corn, cucumbers, squash, melons. These crops prefer warm soil and actually perform better when direct sown rather than transplanted. Beans germinate fast in warm ground. Corn needs consistent soil warmth. Squash and cucumbers dislike root disturbance, so direct sowing them is often better no matter when you do it. If soil temperatures are above 60 degrees Fahrenheit consistently, you're ready to go. Now you can start late tomatoes if you want a staggered harvest or a second wave. You can also start herbs like basil indoors if you prefer transplants. But here's something important: don't keep planting lettuce deep into warming temperatures. In warm climates, March can be the end of your cool season window. Just know kind of how your summer temperatures or your late spring temperatures hit. If you're somewhere like Texas, heat's coming pretty soon. As soon as nights start staying warm, bolting speeds up. And bolting just means plants going to seed rather than producing more food. So shift your focus toward heat-loving crops before summer arrives. Now let's talk about some of the mistakes. These are things that feel productive, but they're usually going to backfire on you. Do not start pumpkins too early. Pumpkins grow fast, and if you start them indoors in early March and your transplant date isn't until late April or May, they'll outgrow their containers, they'll become root bound, and they're going to struggle after transplanting. Most pumpkins should be started 3 to 4 weeks before transplanting, not 2 months early. And for pumpkins, a lot of times it's best just to direct sow them in the ground once your soil warms up. They're going to take off a lot faster, in my opinion, and in my experience, than starting them in containers indoors and then trying to transplant them. Also, don't start cucumbers too early indoors. Cucumbers, they don't like their roots to be disturbed very much. So if you start them too soon and hold them indoors, they're going to stall after transplanting. And in fact, same as pumpkins, it's best to just wait till your soil warms up and direct sow them right into the garden. Another mistake is just don't start everything at once. March leads to excitement. It just does. And excitement means sowing as many seeds as you possibly can. So instead of starting everything in one weekend, stagger your planting. Succession sow greens. Start tomatoes 1 week, peppers the next, kind of spread it out. That way, you're not transplanting everything at the same time and overwhelming yourself. Remember, these next few months are going to be busy in the garden. So if you can stretch out that work instead of having one weekend where you have to really hit it, you're going to be better off. Another mistake is just don't ignore your climate just because you saw it online. One of the biggest mistakes gardeners make in March is copying someone from a different climate. What I start here might not apply to you, which is why I do these type of videos. Always filter your garden advice through your frost date. That's why knowing your bucket matters more than memorizing lists. And that's again where GardenGuide.com is going to come in handy and be a valuable free resource for you this year. March is about timing, not doing everything, not rushing, not panicking. It's about starting the right crops at the right time for your climate. If you're in a cold climate, focus on cool crops and controlled indoor starts. If you're in a mild climate, transition carefully and respect last frost. If you're in a warm climate, lean into those summer crops and don't cling to winter greens too long. Again, Garden Guide lays it all out for you. I'll put a link below. And if you want to know some seed starting mistakes, if you haven't seen it already, this has been a very popular video so far this year. It's going to help you out a lot. I'll see you guys next time.